Hello everybody, I hope everybody is doing well. Today's topic is one of the most burning issue of fashion industry. That is, what are the factors that actually are responsible for a fashion brand to fail? Now me having almost 22 years of experience with fashion industry, I know that it is a multivariant equation. There are a lot of different things that might be missing in a fashion design brand, which actually makes that brand to drown down. But then I just met a super expert on fashion business, and the conversation that I had with him, it actually changed the way I was thinking about fashion design industry. And I was very fortunate that he actually agreed to give me an interview on all those industry secrets that he has observed in his almost 25 years of experience with fashion design industry. So I'm like super excited to call Professor Bhaskar Das, who has more than 20 years of experience with fashion industry and also almost 10 years of experience as a fashion business teacher. And I personally think in his teaching tenure, he must have taught almost 10,000 fashion business students who now have gone out and they are having some really very strong fashion brands. So now I welcome Professor Bhaskar Das, whom I personally call Bhaskar Da, to share his insightful observation of fashion business and also reveal all the fashion design business secrets with everyone, so that when you are starting your fashion brand, you make sure that you include all these factors inside your fashion brand so that you do not fail. So Bhaskar Da, I'm like really very curious to understand what are your observation that why fashion design businesses fail or why they are not profitable.
So, Gaurav, been in the industry for the last 28 years, I could see that there may be various reasons for them too. But if I have to pick up some of them just to feel that what can be the main reasons, the first reason I believe, which can be a cause for them shutting down the brand, is the credit cycle that they're following. Now, what happens is that whenever a new designer is coming to launch their brand, they have a limited understanding of the finances, and also they are getting some informations from their partners who are looking into the finances. While they are doing this calculation, they are taking a period of say 3 months, 6 months as a cycle, whereas the market is working very differently and the credit limit is getting extended. So a designer who is coming with a plan A of a small credit cycle is definitely going to find a pressure in terms of finances when the credit cycle does not complete because of the longer credit period in the market. So for them, the and then they end up in a situation where they have a high debt and they have to close down their business.
So what do you mean when you say credit cycle?
So when I'm saying credit cycle is the kind of amount of money that you are willing to put both at the start of the business to set up the business, as well as your daily expenses, your operating expenses, to carry on the business, carry on with your orders, carry on with the supplies which is happening for the business to sustain till your money starts coming back from your customers. So that is the credit cycle I'm talking about. So this is basically 3 to 6 months, which I have seen most of the designers are taking, while the market will be demanding much more than that. So,
But why do you think that market is demanding more than 6 months of credit? What do you think?
so typically, I feel that it is a Indian mentality where the goods are being picked up and they are being used, and then the payment thing is realized because the customer feels that that gives them the product value, the correct product value. So whenever a wholesaler is picking up a product or any partner is picking up a product, he or she has a payment timeline of 30 to 45 days to start with. However, this can extend to even 6 months. So these credit cycles are actually increasing day by day. So for a young designer, this calculation of a credit cycle needs to be really, really calculated upon to sustain his business or her business over a long period of time. So if he or she can do the credit cycle 3 times, then the business is already a kind of a stabilized business, and then they can carry on with the business based on its success.
So when you say 3 times, so what kind of time duration you're mentioning?
So to start with the calculation, any new designers, as per a calculated risk calculation, can take a credit cycle of at least 9 months to a year. Now this does not mean that they have to give the product on a year's payment term, but the idea is that the cycle should be in such a way calculated that you are taking 9 to 12 months of a credit payment to come to your system. So that means you are actually identifying and putting some reserves of your finances for operation for 9 to 12 months. Now with this kind of planning, you will be able to get your business more stabilized, because you will anyhow be starting to get the money rolled back and put into the business. So the idea is that planning has to be more longer than the.
Got that. So to make it easier for the audience to understand, let's say a designer starts their business from, let's say, 10,000 rupees is their first business investment. They start in, let's say, January 2022. How this whole credit cycle, can you exemplify that from this little budget?
Sure. So the entire finance can be divided into two broad categories. The first category is the initial investment. So this is one-time payment that you are putting. Any designer will be putting into the business. So that will include creating the team, creating the brand, creating the office space, creating the the production and all those things. So there can be machines and all those investments, or hiring of the machines and workforces, which will be a one-time investment. And then there will be a certain things which is known as a daily operational cost, which has to be borne on each day of your business. So the initial investment will always be there, so that calculation is always fixed. What is variable is the daily expenses. So based on the orders, so this finance has to be kept running, and the finance has to be executed in terms of for a period of 9 to 12 months. So let me give you an example of say a blouse, so or a kurti. So a designer who is only making kurtis can start with an initial investment of 50,000, where she is setting up a rented accommodation with 2 machines and things like that, which she has bought in which she has taken on a rent, or she has bought used product, and then with couple of workmen. And on over that, if she is planning to supply say 50 kurtis on every week to a particular supplier or a couple of retailers, then based on that she has to calculate what those 50 kurtis will be having in terms of fabric, in terms of stitching, in terms of label, packaging, all those things, and that she has to calculate based on 50 kurtis for a week, to a calculation which will be taking her to 9 months or 12 months. So that means she will be calculating for 36 weeks to 52 weeks, depending on what kind of backup she is. So that kind of money she should be having flowing in to sustain.
All right. So now it's quite understandable that operation cost that all that expenditure should be there in my account for at least 9 months,
Yes.
right, to start with, and then I think the rotation starts happening, and
Yeah.
maybe you can do the business later. So okay, so this whole credit cycle we have understood. Are there anything else that you think that young designers don't understand before they get into fashion entrepreneurship?
So, apart from this credit cycle, I feel another important point which can be definitely looked into would be the supply chain. Now, supply chain is something where you are actually connecting with your suppliers to make the product, and then once the product is made, you are again connecting with your partners to distribute that product. So these are the things which has to be completely understood by a designer. Now the designers are generally looking into the creative aspect, while these logistics are very important for them to understand that where the money is going, how the customer is getting serviced. So it is not only the product, but if it is not reaching the customer on time, or if you are not using the correct logistic partner and it is getting to the customer in a damaged mode, the customer will not be happy at the end of the day. So that is one part I think is a thing which the designer should look into.
Okay, so can you also give like an example for supply chain, like the way you gave for credit system of that blouse? See, in fashion, we are also looking at that the product should reach a customer on a certain time, because there is a time limitation also. So if you can give an example so that we understand what all happens inside a supply chain.
Yeah, sure. So supply chain can be supply chain is basically value addition of a product from its raw material to the end customer, and that entire thing has to follow a certain route. So in a supply chain, we can divide it basically into two broad categories. One is the upstream and one is the downstream. So what is the upstream is basically when we are taking the raw materials through our partners. We are taking the accessories, we are taking the trims and making the product. So everything will go into a upstream process where the product gets made. And when we are doing the downstream, so we are making when we are getting the product go to our customer through various delivery partners. Now in this process, we will definitely be looking at a lot of suppliers, vendors. Now these vendors are to be treated in terms of a partner, because they are partner to your business. They are not only service providers. So once you have understood a vendor in terms of a partnership, then you will be looking at giving value to the product. So that means each of these partners, whatever is their contribution, has to be thought about with in terms of understanding the business. So if you are going to buy some raw material, so you have to have a basic knowledge of those raw material, and when you are sitting with your partner, you should be able to make him understand that how this raw material is important to you, and his quality is going to impact your quality at the end of the day. The moment you have that build up that trust and that understanding, then you will be getting a product which will definitely be at par with the quality that you are looking forward to. So these sort of things will be happening at each point of the value chain that you will be adding to your product.
So the partners that you are referring to, they are not like your business partner, but you are treating them as your partner.
Brilliant, absolutely.
Okay, so when you say upstream, that means what kind of partners are there?
So in the upstream, you will be having a partner who will be dealing with the raw material. Now, when I'm talking about a partnership, this partnership need not be a single partnership. It can be multiple. So you can have a base of vendors where you will be finding their quality at par with your product that you're looking for. So to build up this business and build up a very strong supply chain, you should at least be having a vendor base which will have more than 2 to 3 vendors for each of the value stream that you are trying to address to. So you will be having raw materials, you will be having the accessories and the trims, you will be having the packaging, and and you will also be having the testing partners who will be testing your products and making sure that they are good. When we are talking about a downstream, we will be definitely be talking about the delivery partner who will be taking your products and giving it. There can be also a warehousing facility where you are storing your product and distributing it, and there will be this last mile connection, which means that whoever is taking the product from the warehouse or your production floor and making it reach the customer. Apart from that, there will also be a return policy, which has to be a very, very strong return policy, so that the customer has a trust on you and can buy the product thinking that if the product does not meet his or her expectation, then there is a return policy for that.
Got that. So in the downstream, are you also mentioning all these departmental stores who becomes like a for the designer, they go and they buy their product? Are you also including them in the downstream?
Absolutely. So when I'm talking about a warehouse or a place where the customer can, so it can be a e-commerce site where you are placing your product, it can be a department store, it can be a standalone store also, it can also be a wholesaler who will be passing on your product to others. So it depends on the kind of partnership that you have, but they are a very, very important part of your downstream partnership.
Great. So now there are two major factors you have mentioned. One is the credit system, another is the supply chain. Is there anything that you think that young entrepreneurs should master before they get into this plunge of entrepreneurship? Or these two things are good enough?
No, there are plethora of things which makes the thing. But I think that at the end of the day, you are a creative person, and that should be it. Which gives you the USP. So the idea is that you have to know how to delegate the work. So to delegate the work, you have to understand the work. So the first thing is that being a creative person, just do not make yourself only limited to the creative field, or start loving numbers, because that is also very important for you to appreciate that what kind of money is coming in, what kind of money is going out. Start to have a little bit of a understanding of each of the processes, which is upstream, downstream, the kind of value addition that you can put into the product, and also try and build up a reputation with the customers to understand what kind of feedback they are giving for your product, and also what kind of products they are looking for. If you can have a little bit of an understanding of all these things, you should be able to hold the market for a longer period of time. Thank you so much, Bhaskada. I think all the factors that you have put on table, even a fashion design teacher, sometimes I also oversee them. And I think it was a great learning experience for all my viewers, including me. And I'm really thankful for you to come and share all this information with us. And before I conclude this episode, I really want to welcome all the design aspirants to come on my website, which is called gauravmandal.com, and you can avail fantastic online fashion design courses there, and you can also buy fashion design books at extremely discounted prices. So I'll be seeing you soon again.